Hello everybody, welcome to AllStar Potential. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and drop a like on this video. I am trying to hit 80,000 subscribers on this channel by the end of the year, so your subscription would be much appreciated. I'm wearing glasses. I look hot. I know, you don't have to tell me. We're here for hot takes, so let's get into it. The Nets are the unluckiest franchise in the NBA. They traded a bunch of unprotected first-round picks to Boston and got nothing out of it. Then they traded a bunch of unprotected first-round picks for Harden, who has suddenly had a large drop in production. Well, first of all, they didn't get nothing out of the Boston trade. Here's the thing. It's like a weird butterfly effect where it's like if one of the worst trades in history doesn't go down, the circumstances that attracted Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to the Nets also don't end up being a thing. So ultimately, it's probably a good thing that trade went down with hindsight. Granted, still a bad trade, but with how it worked out, eventually that led to the culture in Brooklyn being built up and the impressiveness of that front office being built up, the fact that they were able to build something without their own picks. And that's what attracted Kevin Durant and Kyrie to Brooklyn. So ultimately, not really getting nothing out of that. And then also, I'm kind of just working on the theory here at this point that the only reason people are going for Harden's neck is the fact that Kyrie isn't playing. If Kyrie was playing and Harden was putting up these numbers, nobody would really be saying anything, but it's because that they need him to step up and he's not, that it's really making it clear the weaknesses that he has. But, you know, Kyrie returns, I promise you immediately, we're done with this. No more Harden slanders really going to be around all that much outside of people overhyping him and then thus getting the pushback for it. But overall, that's really the situation. So, and ultimately at the same time, all those firsts for James Harden, I think is worth it. So even if Harden's going to be a worse player, he's still kind of that caliber. So is what it is. Draymond Green was the second best Warrior even during the Clay days. Most versatile defender in the NBA, who is also an elite screen setter and passer. This is the reason why him and Curry together have the highest win percentage in NBA history. I agree with that, and it's a take that I kind of always believed but wouldn't say because I felt like it would get me shit. But you know what, at this point, I'm kind of done doing that. I believe that peak Draymond Green is just simply a more valuable basketball player than peak Klay Thompson was. Granted, I think the Warriors as a whole with that big three were just a completely well-oiled machine, but it was always discussed like Curry and Klay, and then also Draymond brings a lot to the table, when really it's more like Curry and Draymond, and then Klay Thompson brings a lot to the table. And, you know, that's really just a matter of something I call aesthetic bias, as well as scoring bias. Players who just score a lot of points and have a more aesthetically pleasing game are just always inherently considered better, even if their actual contributions are not as good. And I think that's the case with Draymond, where he is consistently undervalued because his game is kind of ugly and requires more nuanced elements to understand, and he's not out there, you know, getting step back jump shots and shit. So we're dropping 60 points on 4 dribbles. So, you know, that's the thing with Draymond. You know, because of that 60-point thing, Klay Thompson is, you know, has a higher ceiling from a game-to-game basis. But I think the consistent average of what we get, Draymond is a little bit better than Klay Thompson, especially at their peaks. At this point in the season, I don't think these are slumps anymore. I think the players who are playing bad will continue to play the way for the rest of the season. I don't think you can really say one way or the other. It is a 20-game sample size, so at that point it's like, okay, seeming like things are going to continue to go in this direction, but at the same time it's not such a large sample size that it's not something that can be turned around. So I wouldn't really say one way or the other. And we're already seeing guys like Tatum, Luka, and Damian Lillard all start to round out their seasons after a really, really bad start for all three of them. So I wouldn't put it that way. Rusty should incorporate his Twitter personality even more to YouTube, whether it be on the main channels he uses already or a new one. What, you want me to make a like 5th YouTube account just to read out my horny tweets? I'm good, dude. The Heat not trading for Harden was the right move. More conversation about the Harden trade. You know, I don't agree. But I also think that the holy shit, what a mistake that was, isn't as significant as it was because Harden has been worse. But, you know, the Sixers, not the Sixers, the Heat would be significantly better right now if they had James Harden. Not to mention that, you know, the circumstances required to bring Kyle Lowry to Miami could you still work that out? Probably not. I don't think the salary would end up working, but I think you can get something close to it. I don't know. I'd have to actually do the math on it. Either way, James Harden's better than Kyle Lowry still, and he's better than Kyle Lowry and Tyler Hero combined, although I don't think the difference is that significant right now. I don't know. I think it's just not really a big deal now. It was a big deal then. It was still a mistake. I still think, you know, not using the power of hindsight, that's a stupid decision, but using the power of hindsight, not that big of a deal now that Tyler Hero has broken out and you have Kyle Lowry. That said, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of talking my way through this right now, so I could see both ways. I don't know. Moving on. Lou Dort has legitimate all-star potential. I'll say with Lou Dort, I really think this is kind of a Jeremy Grant example, where this is a high-value role player who has some offensive initiating ability, who's just in a situation where he's going to that more than he would in a winning situation. Now, Jeremy and Lou Dort, both passable efficiency scorers, so I'm not saying they're empty stats guys by any means, but the ideal situation for the both of them is being the third or fourth guy on a team and not number one. So, I don't know that Dort's quite an all-star level guy. That said, he shoots 75% of the basket at 6'3", which is unbelievable. And he's averaging a relatively efficient 17 points per game. It's like slightly below league average for shooting. So, yeah, Lou Dort, also one of the best defenders in the league, 17 points on a passable efficiency. Maybe he becomes a 20-point on passable efficiency and good defense, and the OKC Thunder are a decent team, and I could see an avenue with him being an all-star there. That said, I don't think Lou Dort is second best scorer on a contender or ever going to be something like that. The Cavs are 500 with an extremely hard schedule. Barring injuries, people will be forced to take them seriously by New Year's. Well, I mean, they have had injury stuff, and they've still been good, so I don't even know that it's barring injuries. Yeah, I just did a video over on my main channel where it was a video on could LeBron return to the Cavs, but in reality it was more just me wanting to talk about the Cavs, so go watch that if you haven't yet. But Darius Garland is playing like an all-star. Evan Mobley is not far from playing like an all-star. Jared Allen is not far from playing like an all-star. They're just all fucking great. And even without Colin Sexton, without Larry Markkinen, which I don't think is really a big hindrance because he wasn't playing all that great for the Cavaliers anyways, but even with those injuries, Evan Mobley's missed time, I still think Colin Sexton is going to miss the rest of the year. I still think they can be a playoff team, and yeah, there's someone you should take seriously. Their defense at the very least. Really fucking good. Steph Curry's play style is the most demoralizing to a team than any other superstar. You know, I will probably give you that. I will say, though, on average, sure, that's the case. The most demoralized I have ever seen a individual player make one team was LeBron versus the Raptors in 2018. The amount of incredibly difficult fadeaway mid-range shots that he took and just made them over and over and over again. You could watch the heart just disappear from the Raptors. It's like, that's the shot you wanted him to take. He took it, and he's still making it every time. So it was just like, at that point, throw your hands up. What do you do? That's the most demoralized I've ever seen a team made by one player. The Suns have the best chemistry out of anyone in the league. You know, I might give a minor edge to the Warriors in that category, but I did just kind of want to use this to say an underrated and underappreciated element of the Suns is their consistency. The thing about the Phoenix Suns that makes them so good is you can expect the same thing out of the Phoenix Suns every single night. Back when the Suns were playing the Bucks, when I did my series preview, I said I was worried about the Bucks even though I picked them to win the series because the Bucks were a beacon of inconsistency in the playoffs and the Phoenix Suns were just constantly pretty much the same level of team. Even if one player was having a bad game, another player would step up almost universally. So, obviously the Bucks still won, and they actually got really consistent in that final series, but the Phoenix Suns' biggest strength is that they're kind of always the same team every night, night in, night out. Whether that actually wins you the game or not is dependent on, you know, the opponent and, you know, smaller factors, but at the end of the day, I know what I'm getting with the Phoenix Suns every time, and that's an undervalued ability for a team to have. Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man. Yes, he is, and it's not close. Fuck you if you disagree. End of the video.